Well, my iPad just turned 5 p.m. You ready, Mr. Kalish?
I am ready when you're ready. Looks like we're recording.
We are recording. Well, welcome everybody. I will call to order the June 10th Richland County Executive and Finance Standing Committee to order. Roll call, please, Mr. Kalish.
Carol.
Here.
Annie.
Here.
Gil.
Here.
Glassburner is absent. Woodhouse. Here. Turk.
Here.
Frank.
Yes.
Williamson.
Here.
And Cooley.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Verification of open meeting law compliance.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Everything was posted as perfect. Agenda approval, there's one typo in item 5. It is meeting, not meetings. Other than that, we have a 14-point agenda. Looking for approval, Mr. Manning, seconded by Mr. Frank. All those in favor of the agenda as posted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Minutes. Approval of the minutes for the May 13th, 2025 meeting. Anybody see anything in there? Mr. Carroll?
I've listed as absent, but then also I listed as moving to adjourn, so I think that somebody else must have moved to adjourn.
Oh, that day? Okay.
On the 13th. Okay, I will take a peek at that.
And you were not here, actually.
I thought maybe that was one day you were online, no?
No.
Okay. All right. Mr. Kalish has got the corrections.
I will adjust the roll. I'll double check the roll call and then for that motion to adjourn.
You can put that down to me. If need be. We know who made the motion.
Yeah. Williamson. Yeah.
Sorry, you're right, I seconded it.
Okay, you said, yeah, but you weren't even here the second, so. Probably the wrong, it was Steve, but the wrong Steve, so let's go with that, huh?
That's
All right.
possible, actually.
Could be. Any other corrections? If not, let's vote on that one quick, because we did make it a change. All those in favor of the, well, we don't have to vote on that. I'll declare them approved with the changes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any public comment? Anybody, nobody in here? Anybody online with public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to reports. 7A, Administrator's Report.
So the first thing is I've added to the packet the personnel update. We are working to gather additional data so we can not only get facts, but some analysis behind kind of the changes to our employees. So this report will be a work in progress and something we'll continue to make improvements upon. Also in the packet is a list of my goals for 2025. I wanted to share them with you so that you are aware of what I'll be working on for the year. I plan to complete a 2026 list towards the end of this year based on feedback from the board, department heads, and the community. Do you guys have any questions or concerns with the list that I shared with you?
Mr. Carroll.
Yeah. I don't know if it's your do list or whose, but I still think there needs to be something to get the MIS and board coordination figured out.
So I met with Jason yesterday and we put together a survey that we'll bring to the board meeting later this month. We'll just have it, it'll be pretty short and sweet. You'll have it at your desks. Hopefully people can fill it out right then and there, give it to us before they leave for the day. Then we can kind of start making some next step plans based on feedback from the committee. The other thing that when I was meeting with Jason one day last week, he was showing me their help desk. And they actually have, because I think a question you had at the meeting was asking about what kind of calls they have and what kind of tickets come in. There is actually in their system a pie chart that's created that lists what those kind of calls are.
I would have thought.
So I did, encourage him to bring that even quarterly so that you guys have an idea of what are the things that they're working on a regular basis on top of their other projects. Yeah.
Any other further questions for the administrator in regards to her goals? More for us?
I do.
Okay.
We've been having some hiccups with the Tyler system with payroll. People are continuing to get paid, so there hasn't been an issue there. But it's really behind the scenes. Some of the configuration that happens sometimes just goes away. So we've been working pretty intensely with them to try to get all of that taken care of. It has not been a super smooth process, but we're continuing to work on that. We did provide guidance to the department heads on the capital improvement process. All of the requests are due to us by June 16th. We're also working on providing 2026 budget guidance to the department heads, and that will be provided to them on July 1st. We are working on ongoing maintenance of the wage scale. We've received the majority of the review forms back from the departments, and they've been turned into DDA for their review. The goal is to have all of the reviews completed by July 1st, so we know where they fall on the wage scale and if there's any movement. And then I've been working on handbook changes. My goal is to bring changes to the board in sections and hope that the process is more manageable than bringing the whole document all at once. At our meeting later this month, I'll bring the vacation and sick leave section to here so that you have the opportunity to review that and we can work to take it to the full council. That's what I've been working on.
Any other questions for the administrator from the group? Oh, it's not on here. Can we discuss the finance?
We could, yeah, that could be part of my administrative report. Sorry. We did do interviews for the finance director about a week and a half ago. It was Dave, Derek, Stephanie from HHS, Tammy Newberry, and myself that were a part of them. We interviewed 4 individuals. We had received 8 applications, and we did not feel any of the 4 were a good fit. One of the things that we'll be looking at as possible next steps is to modify the job description a little bit and maybe look to hire a part-time finance director who can really just do some of that really big picture stuff. Some forecasting, long-term budget planning, long-term capital improvement planning, policy writing. Maybe there'll be somebody out there who is retired but looking for a little something to do. So that's kind of what our next option is because we really haven't had a candidate that meets the qualifications of what we're looking for.
Go ahead, Mr. Gill.
Have we considered a consultant, some kind of a consulting arrangement?
We actually did talk about that too, that that's something we could look into.
All right, nobody else has questions. Let's move on to item number 8, discussion and possible action on approval of the public comment form. Item 8.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I can chat about that one, but
Yes.
do I have your permission to go back to item number 5 for the minutes? I think Steve's note of his, in your packet, there was the joint finance. So remember last finance meeting, we had the executive finance first, and then we had the joint executive and ambulance finance meeting second. So just to clarify the record, for the executive and finance standing committee, I had Mr. Carroll present for that one, and Miranda had you marked absent for the joint JAC meeting.
Right.
So I think that's probably why maybe the minutes reflected that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I think if I may, Mr. Chair, do you mind if I go back?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the minutes for the joint JAC meeting are the ones you see on the screen there, and if you can see, Mr. Carroll, you weren't present for that one because that was immediately following the executive and finance meeting. So that's why you're probably, when you were looking at the executive, the regular standing committee meeting, you were here for that one. So there was both those sets of minutes on there, same meeting date from 8/13, but it was 2 different meetings. So I don't believe there's any edits to make to the minutes. I believe there's the set from executive and finance and the set from the joint JAC meeting.
So actually, meetings would probably...
So meetings, that is my bad. I didn't realize both those were in there.
Yep.
So
I
it
forgot
is
about
meetings,
that.
which I kind of thought, how did we miss that on the agenda? But that makes sense now because we have both those meetings and it was item or nor.
Yep.
So I don't think there's any corrections to make, just
Okay.
for the point of clarification, both those minutes are there. So I think that'll solve that if we're good with that.
Perfect.
Okay.
Forgot about that.
Sorry, not to interrupt, but
With that note, does the chair declare both sets to be approved?
yes.
Sure. All right, when you're caught up on that, you can start with the public comment form.
Okay, thank you. So, those of you that were around may recall back quite some time ago in October of 2024, I brought to you guys, to this committee, the idea of having a public comment form for a couple different reasons. One, just to streamline the process of receiving public comments. Also to set a standard for how we handle public comments, especially in times when there is a large volume of public comment. While a prescribed form is not mandatory, there are numerous procedural advantages to having a standard form and then a company procedure in place to handle those. And I think we were prepping just for some big decisions that we're going to have to make. You know, the campus being one example, we will likely have lots of chats about that are much bigger than just this committee, but in a larger setting. When we had the data security meeting as well, you know, we had a sign-in sheet for that purpose, but my hope was that we could come up with a standard public comments form, one that could be posted online on the county's website, would be available here as people come in. We will post the news rules of the board, outline public comment and how that's to be delivered. So my hope is that we can come up with a form. So in your packet, you see versions 1, 2, and 3. And I didn't put them in there to make it more confusing, but this first one is the one that I brought to you guys back in October. And the thought with this one was that it seemed a bit much and that we were looking for maybe something that was more of a list, right? Where people, kind of a sign-in sheet, if you will. So I went from this form and then created this one, which, let me just tell you why, this one does look a little more wordy. However, this does have the rules for decorum when receiving public comment. So, you know, as we're going to handle these things, or just so the general public is aware of, this is public comment, and these are the set of county board rules that we as a governing body must follow. That's what we set up for ourselves, and then that's what we would, you know, expect for decorum to be, public comment decorum to be followed. This then would all be on one form, so again, this is posted everywhere. There's no need to then, you know, the rules are there. Everything to do public comment per our county board rules is listed there. Furthermore, you know, if we didn't have it on the one form, we'd have to then put the rules of the decorum in a couple different spots, and this condenses everything into one form that basically says, here's public comment, here's the way in which it can be delivered, and then please put your information down on the bottom there. Again, we can have copies here, we can turn it into a fillable form. We can make it very user-friendly, but it does capture the essence of what we would probably want in public comment anyway. So there's that one, and then there's an alternate to this version, which takes away the nice logos and again is more of that sign-in sheet that you guys said you wanted. So I did review both this version 3.0, which I'm just loosely calling them, this one, and the previous one I had up there with the turning window. You know, I don't want to speak for him, but I believe he's comfortable with either one. I think there was a preference for the one you see before you because it does capture the information in which we would likely want to catch for, you know, have for official record or public record, but then also has the rules of the decorum on there, so everything's in one spot. This has been modified to just be, you know, it's not just for county board, it'd be for any public comment in any committee meeting. And again, the rules, the county board rules, 4.07 sub B outline all that public comment decorum for a county board meeting or any other committee meeting. So I'm presenting this to you guys today. If there's still more work that you'd like to have done to it or you'd like something different, I'm open to see that. But again, we kind of put this on the back burner because we were in the middle of lots of transition and getting that stuff squared away was of more priority than this. So I don't know if Administrator Clements has anything she'd like to add, but that's my 2 cents.
And I think we have to remember too, it's optional for individuals to fill out this form. It's there for them, it helps them organize their thoughts. The one nice thing on there is the item I wish to comment on. Somebody can't come and talk about something that's not on our agenda. So if we're not going to talk about the campus, but they want to come and talk about the campus, they're not able to do that. And so I think that just helps people organize their thoughts a little bit. I do think having something like this, though, would be helpful for individuals who do want to come and give their input.
Doesn't 3 also point out which agenda item they want to talk about?
It does, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
One question, Derek. The public is welcome, down in paragraph 3, I think, is welcomed to attend Richland County, oh no, sorry. Any person who wishes to address the Richland County Board, do we need to put and/or committee?
Yeah, I mean, I copied that just because it's how it's listed in the county board rules,
Okay.
and I noticed that too, because if you read before the county board rules, it says that it can be used for any committee or whatever, but it's just in that specific
Oh,
rule, I
yeah.
think, that was directed for county board, but in the line above it, in the county board rules, it says
Yeah.
for anything, so.
Yeah, the sentence above it does. say
Yeah,
in-
right, and I thought about doing that, and then I'm like, well, I only have so much room, and if we're copying the county board rules exactly, it's what they are.
My question on 2.0 was something about, what if I wanted, I'm Joe Public, you know, and comment on item 7 and 8. Can I do them both in order to have 3 minutes for both?
I guess I'd be up, I mean, we usually,
What's Mr. Turk gonna let me do if I
yeah,
do
I was
both?
gonna say.
Well, the rule says you get 3 minutes and you can only speak once per meeting.
Correct, correct.
Okay, so then that's,
Obviously, a board chair could opt to, at the wrath of the other board members.
Mr. Carroll.
Two things. Either one's fine, I think maybe we'd save paper with version 3, but the other thing is, what do we want to do about online people that want
I mean, they would need to, obviously not fill out the form, but they could, in the chat box, say they have a public comment. I mean, I know some people use that, and I know we'll just watch it during the board meetings like we would now, you know, for any other public comment, so.
Go ahead, Mr. Turk.
And it's not required, so
Right.
they can still
Right.
say, I'd like to comment and be recognized and give a comment even if they hadn't filled this out. But this is gonna be posted online, correct?
Yeah, but they post it online.
So they could even fill it out online and send it in if they wanted to.
Right.
The only question I got, looking back when we went for the campus at the bowling alley and stuff, we don't have anything to stop what they would want to be 100 people to comment for 3 minutes, do we?
Well,
I think it would be within the chair's discretion to be able to say, you know, this has been enough, we need to move on. And at future times, people can submit their comments, or they can submit them in writing, because that's one of the things that's mentioned
So
here.
we could finally put a timeline.
We could, and if we knew there was going to be something, we could maybe even define on the agenda that there will be this window for comment. You know,
Set aside for, yeah.
Throw 10 names into a hat, then people get to talk to you. That's the
Mr. Frank.
So this is an optional thing if someone wants to speak, yet the item number 1 says, any person who wishes to address the county board for the public comment portion of the agenda must provide name, address prior to the beginning of comment. So you're saying it's optional, but they must provide it?
they can say it,
they can say
They
it.
can say it.
tell us who you are and where you're from.
Oh, okay, that's the piece of it.
That's what we've done.
That's the portion, okay.
Or fill out the.
They can do it verbally or fill out the form, got it.
Mr. Cooley.
The school board, you have to fill out the form.
Right. And there are other municipalities that make you submit it by a certain timeline too, like noon the day before. And I think I had that language in the other one, again, not to like try to limit public comment, but just to help us, you know, yeah, streamline and prepare, and then those that can't make it still have an outlet for public comment as well, right? They can fill out the form before, and I can give it to you guys as correspondence or whatever. So it's, you know, it's not meant to limit anyone's time. It's really just a procedural thing, and then to, I guess, even allow more opportunities for public comment if you can't make it, you know. They could always send an email, I suppose, but.
All I know is it's required before the meeting
Right.
starts.
Right.
And it works pretty well. I wouldn't be against that. I get the being open to it, but it keeps structure to the meeting, and then you can go through, and everybody who has a comment fills out the form. And you know, there's certain meetings, right, when you're gonna have more comments than others. And it's, you know, as we're waiting to start the meeting, anybody that wants to talk, make sure you get this form filled out. And then they just go by the first one who turned it in.
Yep.
You know, you have, it's pretty well structured, and it works.
And you only take them, Mark, when you're on that agenda item. Say I'm on agenda 5, okay, anybody with public comment, or do you do
You
it?
know, I think there's a public comment part of it
Period.
I have to remember, and that's, you know, then they bring up what,
Okay.
you know, it keeps the meeting structured. And so I guess I kind of lean towards that, is that if you want to speak, one, you should come to the meeting and speak. 2, you should fill out the form beforehand, and then you have your opportunity. That's where I'm at with it. just because it works well on the.
Mr. Turner?
And if we wanted to go that route, we could, amend our rules to reflect that that's a requirement.
It's just something, if you don't have any problems, it ain't a big deal. But the day you do, when when a group is upset, then it needs that structure, I guess, is what I'd say.
Mr. Gill?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the example with the guy with the tire proposal came or whatever. So somebody comes with a proposal, they don't fill out the form, they just start pitching their idea or whatever. What do we do at that point? We just listen to.
If it's not on the agenda, I guess.
Well, so obviously the tire guy wasn't on the agenda,
Yeah.
so then how do we respond to that?
We've been fairly loose with our requirement that it be directly related to an agenda item. Especially if we decided to go with a formal written procedure, we could strictly say that, yeah, it has to be related to an agenda item.
So we cut them off basically, is what we do.
Yeah, that would be what the chair would do,
And
is
then
to
what
say,
would
I'm
be the
sorry, that's not.
venue? The tire guy would say, oh, this isn't the right venue, but here's where your proposal could be reviewed, and then.
To the
where-
administrator.
This is what happened, Trish, okay.
Right.
I'm just saying is that we need to be clear then about how people can bring stuff and communicate with us outside of the agenda. And I think that's really important. And I hope we solicit public, I think public comments are great, and having more of them online or whatever, I think that's a healthy thing that we're hearing from the people that we represent. But also that, when we kind of close it down a little bit here, where people can't just talk about anything, which we've seen some of that, then we have to have a place where they're.
Yeah, and if your item is not on the agenda, contact the administrator if you've got an item that, like the tire guy, for example.
Right.
He came twice, and I don't know if he didn't get the right direction as to what committee to go to start the process, but.
Give him credit for standing up and doing it and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the form, when it's posted online, it could have something underneath it that would say, for other inquiries, please, if the item you wish to discuss is not on the agenda, please contact the county administrator at this thing. And then, I really do think, we're giving people more potential to comment then, because there's an actual form online that's fillable, can be sent to us immediately, they can come get paper copies, and it's maybe giving those that don't have the opportunity to be here present, but a piece of paper that could be submitted, which, maybe they would, they could send an email or something, whatever, but I think this just kind of solidifies that process, and I feel like, we're trying to be as transparent as possible, right? Because that's what we want to be. So I think this is yet another outlet for people to provide public comment if they can't make the prescribed meeting date.
I think that's how we should pitch it, basically, is that we're opening up public comments, and it is a change, and if we could put something on our website, change the public comment procedure, here's a new form, you can do it online or whatever, communicate that this is a change.
Well, and right now, all of our emails are available on the website, too, but we wouldn't go as far as to start reading these public comments if the people send them in. Not reading them in a full county board meeting, we could post them in the packet.
I don't know if they need to, I don't
I
think they
just,
need to be read.
thinking about all these ideas that people are gonna ask.
You're kind of getting to a line between correspondence and comment there
Right.
too. A correspondence, we typically do put in the packet, and
If it's addressed to all of you, it's a correspondence in the packet. And I think this really isn't a change. We've had public comment on agendas for quite some time now. All we're doing is saying, this is it's really more of a procedural thing. So this way, we know how to govern the process. So if a committee has them, then the committee has that information to really just clarify the process and procedure. And I think part of this is just because we're going through the way we do things. We're like Trish's example of the handbook and the policy, we're really kind of looking at all this stuff that we've kind of set on the back burner because, we've been in lots of transition in the last couple of months. But really, we've always had public comment. It's been on agendas for quite some time now. All we're just doing is streamlining that process and clarifying that. So it's understood by all, in the room or what have you. So
Mr. Frank?
I would recommend version 2. It's an individual form for one person to fill out. The idea of having a list means that who's going to fill it out? You're going to get one person and then 5 people are going to fill it out for the same topic. I really like version 2. One form, one person, one identity, or one topic. I think that's the direction I would choose to go and would so move to that direction.
make picky feedback?
Yes.
For where we're quoting the board rules, can we put quotation marks around that section?
Yes.
Thank you.
Someone want to second that, we can discuss a little bit. Mr. Cooey had seconded discussion. Mr. Carroll.
I'm fine with that, as long as we make sure we keep the order of who filled it out first.
Yep. Right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the information Mr. Cooey gave us, that's how the school board does it. And very good. Any other discussion? I'm in favor of number 2 as well. I like one name, one person.
Clean.
And I think it's got a lot, 7 strong points there that I think everybody they can read them. If no further discussion, I would call for a vote. All those in favor of going with 2.0 of our public comment form signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that has passed.
Mr. Chairman, I may clarify, do you
Yep.
guys want this to go before county board, or is it okay with this committee?
County, the board should see it.
Yeah.
That's what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah, it's next week, right? With the idea that county board's next week, yeah?
Correct, yeah.
That's good, okay.
I will take it to county board.
Okay.
Version 2.0.
Thank you.
Version 2.0,
Yes, sir.
DK, Darren Kalich 2.0.
Thanks.
All right, we are moving on to item 9, discussion and possible action on approval of a countywide vehicle use policy. Item 9.
So this is something that shortly after I started, Commissioner Elder came to me and said that Public Works has been asking for a vehicle use policy and discussion with him and Mike Windle. It was determined that we would probably be better off doing a county-wide vehicle use policy because there are several departments that have county vehicles. And so this is what we put together based on looking at other counties' policies, looking at some internal policies within other departments. We would not include the sheriff's department in this policy as they do have their own policy, and their own policy references weapons, references the lights and sirens. So there are different things that definitely need to be in theirs that doesn't need to be in all the rest of the policies. So this is what we did come up with. I did share this with all department heads that have vehicles, and I was provided some feedback from 2 different department heads. So I am bringing it to you guys, and then we'll take it to Public Works and then full county board. Questions, concerns with this?
Let's get it on the floor, gentlemen. I'll make a motion, seconded by Mr. Cooley. Now it's on the floor. Go ahead, Mr. Gill. You brought up Mr.
What was the feedback? What did the department heads do?
Over at HHS, their feedback was just some grammatical errors that I had made on there, and there was some inconsistency between manager and supervisor, so we clarified that. The other feedback that I received was from ambulance. One of the items in here is that we need to have them not use handheld phones while driving vehicles, and they did have some concerns with that.
How are you going to check the Wisconsin Department of Transportation to make sure the employee has a valid license? You do that through the sheriff's department?
We would have to see if that's through the sheriff's department or if we're able to do that on our own, so we have to figure that out.
Because I think the sheriff's department, that might be a problem because it's not a law enforcement use under the CID rules.
I know that in Vernon County, they ran mine to ensure that I had a driver's license, so we would just have to try to figure out what that process would be.
I don't know how our HR person at Hartung Brothers does it, but she's got to pay for it. It costs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an online way to do that.
Yeah.
I know banks do that all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I haven't read through this. Do we have a cell phone use policy within there?
I just say that you have to have if you're using a cell phone, it has to be handheld.
Hands-free.
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 Thank you.
That's what we have at Hartung as well. So they had concerns at
They won't be able to
EMS.
be on their phone when they're driving.
Mr. Carroll.
Is there other departments? I mean, I don't know the extent of how much.
So I sent it to Kathy Cooper at Land Conservation and Zoning, Brittany Paulus over at Pine Valley, HHS, ambulance, Josh at Highway looked at it. I think those are the main ones that have vehicles.
Do we have Another thing we have in Hartung's is, in case of an accident, it's right in every vehicle, a phone, you know, bing, 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 what they have to do, what they should do, who they notify, as far as here at the county, if they're driving a county vehicle. I mean, that, just something we have, but I don't know if it's something we.
Well, this item number 300, use of vehicles, does say immediately after they've notified, what's this here?
On the second page, employee responsibilities, if the employee is in an accident while driving the county vehicle, they
Yeah.
shall report the
There it is.
accident to law
Yeah.
enforcement and then to their department.
Are you looking for more than that, Steve, or is that?
No, I can show her what we use. I don't think it's anything needs to be out of this. It's just something that none of us need to approve. It's just, sometimes your insurance company will give it to you. They go, this is what they want. We're self-insured, so a little bit different. Any other comments from our group, Mr. Gill?
Yeah, like the handheld phone thing, I'm thinking about GPS. People are using GPS and, you know, looking at their phone or whatever. I mean, well, that's, this sort of excludes that, basically. If you're using GPS on your phone, basically, that's a.
And my recommendation to Mr. Justin, when I talked with him, was you need to have Siri set up or whatever, you know, to say, Siri, give me directions to this spot. When they're driving the ambulance, there's always two in the ambulance, so one can drive, the other one can look up the instructions. If Mike is the lead car, he certainly can take 30 seconds to program the instructions into his phone. It talks to you, it talks out loud that you don't have to. What I said to him is, we don't need him crashing on the way to go to save somebody else's life.
Mr. Frank?
So I'm going to expand on that a bit. I think that the phrase needs to be clarified. Use of a handheld phone is not permitted while driving in the county vehicle. That means I cannot use this phone while driving in the county vehicle.
Okay?
But I can. I can use it for GPS. I can use it to talk as long as it's hands-free. But looking at that right now, when they say use of handheld phone, tells me I can't have my phone used at all. I think we need to clarify what that is. What that means? Is that? I think that's what you're trying to get
So
at.
it should
Yes,
be hands-free.
Yeah, hands-free, I think.
Okay.
Right.
And, yeah, use of hands-free phone is permitted. Is permitted, is that right? I think maybe that's what the ambulance was getting at. I don't know.
You got what you need so far. Anything else, Ms. Gill?
Do we have a lot of cars that employees are taking home or whatever? I guess I'm not really,
Well, it started at Public Works, and we had supposedly people seeing somebody pulling a bolt with their county vehicle. Well, it wasn't, but you know how people talk, so it's like, all right, let's get a policy.
And then who needs a county vehicle, or how does that work, or whatever? Is there a level, or how, you know, what's, yeah.
There's three, the commissioner, then we have Derek Brown is the county, and Lonnie Hatch is the state superintendent. And I believe one other guy, so they rotate when they're on call.
Okay.
So then they take the vehicle home, basically, and so if they're on call, they have to go check roads during the winter months, they check the temperatures. Those are the four that Mark and I are well aware of because of being on.
That's a pretty small.
Highway department, but then there's others, I mean, you have how many county vehicles across the road?
The buses, 4 total. We always have, maintenance also has a vehicle, I forgot, I did share this with Randy Nelson too.
And then, yeah, Randy's got one of the old highway shop trucks or county shop trucks. We've got a couple old squads out of the highway department, so,
Pine Valley.
they've got a snowplow truck.
Conservation.
I don't know, it's probably under 20, I'm just guessing that, as long as we're excluding the sheriff's department, which we've already said we were, so.
Yeah, that's a whole different game.
Yeah,
I guess I'm just trying to get a sense of, you know, how big this thing is, and then how do we assign that or whatever? Is that part of a question? Or how do people get,
So I know at HHS, they have a policy in place that talks
Okay.
about if you want to reserve a car, here's how you do it. I think Pine Valley, theirs are just used by their drivers, because I think they have a bus out there, and then they have their maintenance vehicle, and I think that's assigned to him. I don't think, other than highway and sheriffs, I don't think anybody takes the vehicles home at night.
Okay,
I think those are the only two departments that people take it home.
okay. So it's by department, more or less, is
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really not that many. I mean,
Okay.
but again, people were seeing things.
Yeah, you know, that's always the case.
What else you need from us? You want us to approve and move on back to Public Works is what I, correct? So, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of moving this to Public Works, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, one step further. Item 10, discussion and possible action, resolution approving an intra-departmental partnership of MIS Land Information and the Sheriff's Department applying for and accepting a NG 911 GIS grant from Wisconsin Department of Military Affairs for 2026.
And Clay should be online to speak to this one.
Mr. Porter, are you there?
We can see him.
Can't hear you.
All right,
There you go.
Hey, over here.
so these, I guess it'll probably be the next two items actually, are a continuation of grants that we've been applying for the last several years. Largely, they enhance our 911 systems. So both the GIS and the PSAP grant, both, they tie into 911, making sure we have accurate and current maps, making sure that our boundaries match up with the boundaries of the counties surrounding us. But again, this is to enhance 911, to make 911 better for dispatch and therefore for the public. So we're asking to apply for both the grants. And I don't know if you want to take them both at the same time. GIS grant deals with the mapping side of things. And then, you know, anything, the maps, anything like that, that touches 911. The PSAP grant, anything that touches dispatcher, the call taker, that gets that 911 call dispatched out to the road. So we've used that we've replaced our 911 system, our call taking system. We've changed out in the past, we've changed out our emergency medical dispatching protocols from old flip chart thing to computerized. Actually, we're just wrapping that up now currently. But we're looking to continue to enhance our 911 system and keep moving that forward. So, any questions for me about two grants?
Mr. Carroll?
Now, these grants are up to $750,000, but have you guys determined the amount you are targeting or what it is you're wanting to expend on?
Actually, that was supposed to be adjusted. I don't think the limits have been set. Bob maybe has some more insight on that.
Correct.
Bob.
Yeah, so the limits for this next grant round 2026 have not been set yet because we don't know what the state budget numbers are. OEC, Office of Emergency Communications, is trying to get this grant out as soon as we can, and they're just suggesting people use last year's information. That might change, but at least you've got something to start with. So the match could be different. It's 10% last year. The max was 750,000. It could be more, it could be a little less.
Well, but I mean, you're not asking for a full 750,000, or is there a specific number?
No.
That's what I'm asking.
Right, the reason the grant was it was put this way, or the resolution was put this way, is to get up to the max. Because we don't know what that number is going to be, and they don't have all their numbers for the grant process coming up. But they know, then the resolution is there, and we know they can spend up to that amount.
Understood, but I'm asking, is there a specific expenditure you're hoping to get the money for?
Clay,
So we're still working on what exactly we want to fund with this round of grants. We've made a lot of progress in the last few years with the grants. And I don't know if I mentioned earlier, it also helps offset the cost of training. So in addition to equipment and technology, we can use it to help train our staff as well. So I don't have a total dollar amount that we're going to ask for as of right now. We were still working on that when we put these resolutions together, but hopefully we'll have something here once the final language for the grant letters come out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, one of the concerns is that as soon as OEC finds out what the budget is, they're gonna put the grant out, and it'll probably have to be turned in by August or September. So the time frame's gonna be really tight, and that's why some of these counties are getting these pre-planning things done.
Definitely. Well, we don't, technically you're saying there shouldn't be a dollar amount in there right now, or do you want a?
Well, the dollar amount in there is the max
Yeah.
of what you could get, so it could be, less than that's always okay too.
Up to. So,
Right.
Any further questions for either Bob or Sheriff Porter? Go ahead, Bob.
One more. So I did notice in the resolution, it talks about MIS applying for the grant. I know that the rules of the grant say that a designated public safety answering point that meet the criteria may apply for the grant. So it says the PSAP may apply. Sheriff Porter, do you know if the other grants were signed by you initially or by MIS?
So I know the last one, 2025 round 2, I signed. I believe that, don't quote me on this, I believe Barb might have been the point of contact on the round 1 grants.
Right, I believe she was the,
2025.
I believe MIS was the contact, but I believe the signing authority in this needs to be the PSAP, which would be in the
Okay.
Sheriff's Department.
Well, so I know when we submit these grants, part of the application has always been, we need that letter designating that we are the sole PSAP or primary PSAP for the county. So I know we do submit that resolution that we passed probably 3 years ago now.
Right.
Naming my office as the PSAP.
Right, I'm just curious about the signing of the grant. I can check that at the next meeting too, but this resolution says that MIS can sign for it, but I don't know if that meets the grant criteria. So I'll ask that question, but I won't know that for another month.
You'll find out on your end. and
I'll find out from OEC
Okay.
on that side.
Let us know.
Yeah, but if this has to go to resolution next week, it says MIS will sign it, but that may not be accurate.
Which we could amend.
Says MIS can apply for and accept, it doesn't necessarily say sign.
Okay, so as long as the sheriff signs it.
Yeah,
That's
that was
fine.
my interpretation.
That's fine, yeah, I think as long as the sheriff signs the grant, that's the intent.
Yeah, and you're right, we've had resolutions in the past where we specify who's gonna be signing on behalf of the county, so.
Right.
It doesn't say that here,
But MIS is the ones that are going to apply for it?
Well,
Joint.
it's the county.
Yeah, we work together on it, yes.
Okay.
The other thing, Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
it says Rule 19. Rule 19 of the rules of the board, that doesn't exist any longer when we adopted our new set of rules, so I'm going to, can we just strike Rule 19 since it doesn't exist? Is there anything else you would like to substitute in there, or can we just strike that? Because Rule 19 doesn't exist anymore.
I would say you can remove that. Is there anything, anybody thinks we need to add?
So it's our procurement policy that outlines the need to do this, that if you want, we can just add the procurement policy.
yeah, make that the citation.
So for this resolution, for item number 10, agenda item number 10, the only thing we will do is strike the Rule 19 reference and reference the procurement policy in its place. Are there any other changes to this resolution that you guys would like to see before it goes to county board next week? Or is that it for this one anyway?
I think, are we all good with this one as is? I don't think we actually took a motion in a second to.
No, I just, if there's any other words,
Yep.
then we can do it now. I just want, because both the resolutions are actually kind of similar in nature, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I have a question where it talks about funding and upgrading equipment. So is this strictly money, or could, use for an example, the Bearcat, could that be upgrading to a newer piece of equipment like that, or is this strictly money?
It has to touch the dispatch center, so no, that kind of equipment would not be applied. So it's gotta be something, either for the GIS, it has to do with mapping, contracting services for mapping, upgrading mapping, that kind of stuff. For the PSAP, it has to be equipment or technology that touches the call taker. So no, if our armored vehicle or that kind of equipment would not apply here.
Correct.
Any other discussion on that, or I guess, do we truly need a motion to move this on?
So we're approving these with the amendment about Rule 19.
We're just doing 10 right now, Derek's got 10.
This
correct.
is number 10, what you have before you
Yep.
is agenda item number 10 there.
We're gonna approve them both while the sheriff's on here, but right now we're just doing 10.
That's correct.
Because he's got some corrections made on 10. And we can move on to 11 and then just put them both together.
Same thing.
Yep, which is fine with me. Anything on 11 that you've seen, Derek, or anybody else has seen?
This is number 11.
All
So
right.
again,
So it's got 19 in there again, Rule 19, which will change those out again. Sheriff Porter, anything else you want to add? We're just glancing over 11 before we'll approve of both, moving them both on at the same time, but you're good?
It's speechless.
That's okay.
You're muted again.
or frozen, there we go.
That has to be, no, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, thank you. Anybody on the committee, we've talked about these enough, move them on to Polk County Board next week?
Please.
Make a motion to, as we change the language in that one, both of these forward as we amended.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Carol, motion by Turk, seconded by Carol. I think we've discussed it enough. All those in favor of moving both of these on items 10 and 11 to Polk County Board next week signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you, Sheriff Porter.
Thank you.
Item 12, correspondence. Anything, Mr. Turk or Mr. Taylor?
None to report.
None? Nothing from you?
Nothing.
Nothing from our group? Future agenda items. We have the next meeting set for what, the 23rd? June 23rd. 5 PM again?
Wait, June 23rd?
Monday.
Yes, the fourth Monday.
Yeah.
Do we need it?
Yes.
Yes.
So, yes.
We got some Pine
No,
Valley
we don't
stuff.
need it, we're just gonna get together.
Yes, yeah.
Asking.
Yeah, I'll be online.
You're gonna bake all your cake.
Anybody,
You're gonna be fishing?
No, you probably.
anybody have any agenda items?
Your class and.
Mr. Cooley?
Well, I don't know if it's an agenda item, but I just went through a lengthy process to figure out a survey and the property lister, and so if you have property and you get a survey, we need to define what type of survey we're going to use that's valid, okay? So the problem is that multiple people talked through this, and our surveyor said that you could get this survey and that survey. And I'm not gonna get involved in the weeds on what's what, but then when we go to the property lister, then you can only use this survey. So there's some confusion on what we require to make changes to property or adjustments to property, because unfortunately, some of this stuff through the years, and we talk about this in zoning all the time, how we're cleaning up ag residential from whatever, you know what I mean? So this is kind of another thing. As these properties break apart, I think we need to define what we're going to do and what we're going to use. And once we define that, and I don't know which group it goes to, but it needs to go to them and come up with a policy. And I would encourage that we have multiple, that the surveyor is also involved in that conversation, because it was two different things told to one person, they did one thing, they should have done the other thing.
Expenses were incurred.
Well, it's $5,000 to go do a survey, and if you did the wrong one, you're most likely not gonna spend another $5,000 to do another one, right? So, we just need to get that, it's just another thing that needs to get cleared up. It's been extremely painful, I'm gonna say, because I've been told several times it's taken care of and it was never taken care of. So, at the end of the day, we need to straighten it
Yep,
out.
I've got the same situation with my son.
So, we gotta get that straightened out, somehow, some way, something, and like I said, I have an opinion of how we should do it, and we should do it the best for the taxpayer. We all this runs because of the taxpayer, and I think we have to take their interest, that's the interest we need to be looking at.
And we can, and once we get it on the agenda as well, what's everybody else doing around us?
Well, and that's the other thing, what does everybody do? Sounds like everybody does it, whatever, everybody does it different, whatever. I'm not saying we did anything wrong, what I'm saying is we need to define what we're going to do, and we need to straighten it out and get the stuff straightened out, because it causes people a lot of pain, to say the least. And unfortunately, what has happened over the last 100 years is much different, you know what I mean? So they split properties and they do different things and they did different things, and we just need to get straightened out. And we need to give everybody the correct opportunity, correct information so they can do the right thing. I guess that's where I'm at. And I think when we need to go back, if we have these instances, whatever's happened in the last, we need to fix it. And that's my other point, is we need to get it fixed. Because otherwise you got assessment rolls that are not right. And it may only be a small amount of money, but it still needs to be right. And so that's my township part of this. So,
Anything else? If not, Mr. Manning has got.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded by Mr. Carroll. Steve Carroll seconded the motion to adjourn.
I got it. First by Manning, second by
All those in favor of adjourning until June 23rd, signify by saying aye.
Aye.